Hi all, we're back in the man cave of an acting teacher for another video. Thanks for joining me again. I'm glad you're enjoying the videos, okay? Today we're going to talk about writing, okay? So writing, yes is the answer. I do teach writing classes, playwriting and screenwriting classes, okay? I would be more accustomed to playwriting, although, I've written many plays. I've written quite a few film scripts, less than my plays. But of course, none of my films, unfortunately, have been picked up and produced as yet. I will not give up. I'll keep on writing and keep on being creative no matter what. But yes, I certainly know how to do them, and I know how to. I've been taught how to structure them, of course, at a fairly high level, and I know how to pass that on. If if I sort of hit a wall with you in that regard, and I feel that you need more advanced coaching or teaching in that regard, there's people I can pass you on to, like Terry McMahon, people like that, filmmakers who have had a degree of success, who are also pretty good teachers themselves, So there's always ways. Let me know. I'm sure I can either help you myself or find someone who can. Writing, okay. So if you're writing, let's imagine you're going to write a film, all right? And you want to structure that in some way that works for you, okay? The thing about the acting technique that I teach is that it's also a writing technique. Stanislavski is actually a writing technique because the whole beginning of it, in fact most of it, to some degree could be described as text analysis, right? So look at Stanislavski's basics. You have a set of given circumstances, who I am and where I am, my hero, my character, and what I want, my objective, yeah? And going to my technique, but obviously borrowed from Stanislavski, is the idea of the core problem, okay? My character has a problem that they have to solve, right, for themselves in order to make their world a better world, right? Or a more satisfactory world, yeah? So just taking the basics of Stanislavski, if you took all of those and made a list and said, okay, well, who is my main character? Where are they? What's their problem? And what do they want? Well, what they want is to solve that problem, so there's your objective, okay? Another great way to do that, right, is to use what we call a perfect world structure, which is a basic film 3-act structure. And without giving too much away on this video, quite simply, you can look it up online, right? It's quite simple. You've got a graph which looks like this. You probably will remember this from previous videos that I made because it's the same graph as a scene. It's the same graph as a monologue, okay? Exactly the same. It's the same for an entire film. It's the same for an entire episode of a television series. It's the same for the entire series, in fact, as well, okay, depending on the series, right? But you can loosely use this graph for so many different things, and it's so useful and so easy. Let's take a Disney film like Frozen, okay? You've got establishment, right? Where we find out where we are and who we are. We're introduced to the main characters, right? And the perfect world of Frozen, this beautiful kingdom where everyone's happy clappy and going about their business, right? Then at a certain point, and not too far in because we don't want the kids to get bored, there is an inciting incident. Yeah? And the inciting incident then provokes the rest of the action. So the beautiful kingdom is frozen. The perfect world is ruined. And then the hero and her mates have to go up a mountain, literally, to find the person who froze it, which is her sister, right? Up this mountain to find that sister so that everything can be resolved and the perfect world can be fixed, okay? We, as an audience, fall in love with that hero because we want her to succeed. So the basic #1 thing about a Hollywood film that needs to put bums on seats, or a Disney film that's all about the audience, right, and getting as much audience and as much franchising and money as possible, is that we have to get the audience to fall in love, not romantically speaking, but to want the main character, the hero, the protagonist, to succeed. Then we will follow her, right, up that mountain. And we will say to ourselves, oh my God, is she going to succeed? Is she not? Then we will be introduced probably to some comic relief, okay? There'll be a little snowman with a carrot in his nose who wants to, wants a holiday on the beach or some silly thing, right? We have our comic relief. Then there'll be danger. This hero will be put in danger, right? by some huge big monster thing. And there'll be other components that will cause us to go, oh no, is she going to be okay? Or is she not? Or who's this guy? And then we'll follow that, right? Then we get to this climax, or this top of this curve. Now, usually at the top of that curve, our hero, right, will be at her lowest point. Okay, so she will be in huge danger. She'll be maybe about to die, right? Very sick and about to die. And all of the kids in the audience will be going, oh, you know, no, because we love her and we want her to succeed and fix the perfect world. Then, because it's Disney, more than likely her mates will find the courage that they need to be heroes themselves, right? And they will come to the rescue, and then this is called rising action, and then we'll have falling action after that, where we go from that point to some kind of conclusion. If it's Disney, that conclusion will be a happy ending, and all the kids will go home happy and won't have any nightmares because everything ended up just fine, okay? If it's not Disney, that ending could be a not happy ending, a tragedy. You know, the main character, our hero, dies, yeah? Or if it's not Disney, it could be something like No Country for Old Men, or There Will Be Blood, where it's kind of left open-ended at the end. We're just kind of left with this unresolved thing, which is, of course, much more lifelike than the goody-baddie idea, hero-villain idea of something like Disney. Okay, we'll have an ending where the characters are way too complex to be goodies or baddies. They're just, we don't know. We're left up in the air, yeah? Okay, so once you've got a structure like that, right, then you can break down what you want to do. And you can say, okay, well, I'm going to just take care of my establishment up until the point that the inciting incident takes place, right? Draw myself my graph, and I'm going to just write this first bit, yeah? Once I've got that, that's my Act 1, all right? Then I'm going to have my Act 2, which is going to take me from there, you know, maybe up until just before, or, you know, maybe just as the character is at their lowest point, and then the falling action will be my Act 3, all right? Now, the acts might change slightly differently in those positions on the graph, but that's essentially your three-act drama, okay? A more complex piece of work, right, might have 4 or even 5 acts. Not usually your kind of standard Hollywood film. That's usually just a 3-act structure because it's easy to follow, it hooks the audience, and it keeps the audience's interest, and it doesn't hang them on too long so that they lose their attention, so that we lose their attention. But other traditions are different to that, right? So French film culture is a very different animal. You'll have films like the films of, even, you know, I don't know, you name it, right? But even like somebody like Fellini, you know, I mean, just European film culture that isn't so much necessarily interested in just, you know, blockbusters and putting bums on seats, right? Superhero kind of stuff. They're more interested in penetrating an idea, right? Of analyzing a concept or a theme. And so they'll tell a story in a way that, you know, doesn't necessarily stick to that 3-act structure. So they might end up with 4 acts or 5 acts or 6 acts, you know. Plays do this as well. Obviously, you know, the plays of Shakespeare, most of them are 5 acts. A lot of Chekhov's are 4 acts. Some, I think, Racine has 6 actors. You know, there's lots of different kind of structures. Now, something that's more complex like that, I can't really go into too much depth with that here because, you know, you're not going to be able to explain something like that in a 10-minute, 15-minute video. But like if Hamlet, for example, is 4 hours long, and there's 5 separate acts, and each one of those acts is kind of a 3-act structure within itself, yeah? Maybe not quite, but it sort of is that. And you can kind of break down the structure of Hamlet in other ways as well. Like Hamlet is in a certain headspace in Act 1, and it's a different headspace in Act 2 and a different headspace in Act 3. And then at the end, he comes to a kind of a Zen-like sort of peace at the end. So that's, again, it's a different way of looking at structure and breaking it down. Again, too much to go into here right now. But yeah, you can certainly use that 3-act structure to design your story. Then you've got somewhere to start instead of just starting and rambling. So when I write, because I'm an acting teacher and I'm very technical and practical, and everything that I teach is very logical and understandable, right? Otherwise, what's the point of teaching it, right? Well, there's no point in teaching something that's just confusing, yeah? I like structure. So I'm going to write out my structure of my film first, and then I'm going to go, okay, this is going to happen from here to here, then here to here, and here to here. Sometimes I'll just get a burst of inspiration, right? And I'll sit down and I'll write a play, right? Usually a play, or possibly a film, but often it'll be a play. And I'll write it in like 3 days, you know, and it'll be this, you know, huge tome of thing, right? But what will end up happening then is that will lack structure. So more than likely I'll go back and then go, okay, well, hang on a second, this is unstructured. I need to, you know, the audience isn't going to listen to me ramble on like this, you know, so I need to structure it then. So I'll impose the structure afterwards. But I'll have some kind of structure. But you can play with structure. There's no hard and fast rules, right? It's just something that you can start with, and something that you know for sure will hook your audience in, that, you know, that 3-act structure. But somebody like Samuel Beckett messed around with structure all the time. And look at Waiting for Godot. I love Waiting for Godot because it's like taking all of Stanislavski's basics and just messing with them. So you've got given circumstances. You know, our instinct says, well, make the given circumstances as interesting as possible for your audience. What does he do? Strips it bare, all right? Gives you a rock and a tree. There you go. Where are we? Dunno, right? Then he gets 2 characters, okay? Who are these characters? Dunno where they came from. We'll give them a couple of names, right, that are kind of silly names, and then we'll stick them over there, and they're kind of like a couple of hobos. But what's their backstory? We don't know, all right? We know that they were on the Eiffel Tower at some point, or so they say, all right? So what, are they dead? Did they jump off? Where are we? Is there some kind of purgatory? Don't know. Not going to answer that, right? So then he says, okay, well, what are their objectives? And he gives them the most boring objectives he can think of, which is to wait. For who? Godot. Who's Godot? Don't know. Is he coming? Don't know. Does he even exist? Well, he said to wait here. Did he? But we don't know, right? Oh, you know. So you can see what I'm doing here, right? He's taken all of these components that our instincts, our kind of Hollywood blockbuster instinct says, make them as interesting as possible, and he makes them utterly banal. Strangely enough, though, in doing that, he releases our need for all of that stuff. He just dissolves our need for all of that Hollywood stuff and is able to penetrate depths of the human condition by doing that was absolutely new. No one had ever done anything quite like it, not to that extent anyway. And in fact, watching a good production of Waiting for Godot, if it's done well, is actually just as interesting, if not more, than watching Mission Impossible. You know, it's so exciting to watch when it's done really, really well. But of course, it's got to be done well. And that of course, is why Samuel Beckett was so fundamentalist about how people put on his plays, because he said, do it this way, right? Don't do it your way, do it my way, because otherwise it's not going to work, right? You know, and that kind of makes sense as well, doesn't it? Because it's got to be done in that certain pitch, otherwise, you know. So if it's done badly, it's going to be totally boring. If it's done well and understood well, it's going to be done in a really great way. It's the same as Chekhov, you know. I mean, if people put on Chekhov's The Seagull and they forget to read the first page, you know, before the play even starts, which is a comedy in 4 acts, and they put on this thing which is deeply drenched in angst and pain and depression, and in fact it's a comedy. It's about a guy who tries to shoot himself twice and misses, you know. Anyway, well, I think he gets himself the last time. I can't remember. I think so. Look, I'm rambling because I'm a bit tired, like I said, okay? So I hope that makes sense to you. If you'd like a bit of a class on this, let me know, all right? I'm doing these classes at the moment are in all sorts of things, acting-wise mostly, okay? But sure, writing, directing, let me know, okay? Accents, line learning, technique, you know, whatever you like, we can design a course to suit you personally, all right? Keep in mind your self-employed friends who are struggling because they can't get people together to do their stuff, like choirs and whatever else. And take a class if you've got the ways and means. Okay, guys, I'll do you another video tomorrow. Enjoy. Be good to yourself. Bye.